So first of all, it needs the product information, of course, so that includes the HS code, the trade name. If it's wood, so a timber product, it needs the scientific name, and of course the quantity. It also needs the country of production, so that's all the countries where the commodity was grown / harvested. That's relevant because according to EUDR, there's a low, medium, low, standard, and high risk classification. And based on that, if it's low risk, you don't need to do the risk assessment. If it is standard or high risk, you do need to do the risk assessment, which is Article 10. So that also tells then the auditor or whoever checks your due diligence process that it was done correctly. Geolocation is all the coordinates for the plot. So if it's less than 4 hectares, you can disclose a point, which is a single coordinate. And if it's more than 4 hectares, you need a polygon, which is at least 3 coordinates, essentially creating the shape of the plot of land where it came from. Good to note here is that this is also something that's being discussed under the new proposals that, for example, small micro primary operators can disclose the address instead of a polygon. The production dates, of course, also very important because that's what's referenced for checking for deforestation. So here you need to check the harvest / production window, confirming the cutoff for compliance. And then operator details include the name, the address, and the contact details of the operator. So you as a company that submits the DDS. So it does not include a risk assessment. So there's no risk scoring, no justification, no mitigation records. There's no evidence. So you don't include any kind of attachments of legality documents and so forth. There's no deforestation checks. There's no satellite imagery, no geotagged photos, etc. No supplier documentation. So no questionnaires, no audit reports, no traceability files. So no batch level internal mapping, no purchase or sales documentation. And then the decision rationale is also excluded. So there's no internal notes explaining why the risk was deemed negligible.
The process starts with mapping and preparing. You have to identify your suppliers, onboard them, give them the right knowledge and trainings that they need. Next step is benchmarking. So check whether your sourcing countries are classified as low or standard risk. That is very important because it will determine the next step, which is collecting data. You need to collect all the data of Article 9 and everything that you need extra in order to assess the risks of Article 10 in case you're sourcing from standard risk countries. Which leads to the next step, which is assessing. You have to assess all the risks of Article 10. Of course, this can be skipped. And if any risks are above the negligible status, you have to move on to the next step, which is mitigate. You need to mitigate everything before you can create the due diligence statement. Once you have done this, the next step is to submit. So then you have everything ready, and then every time you have an order that comes from an origin that you have already collected, assessed, and mitigated, you can be creating new due diligence statements for your orders. And last but not least, you need to record everything, the DDS number, the evidence bundle, and everything that you used in order to conclude to this negligible result. You need to have it in your internal system along with the DDS references you created. These are the companies that don't place materials themselves, but they buy from someone inside the EU, as we said. And the first step here after amendments is that you have to confirm your eligibility. We have now this extra layer where you have to cross-check for all your sourcing paths if you're buying from someone that is acting already as a downstream operator, or if you are buying from someone that acts as the operator. And depending on this, you might be out of scope. But if you're not out of scope, you then need to collect the due diligence statement references or identifiers in case you buy from small micro primary operators. And you also need to have the basic traceability records. And lastly, record everything again in your internal systems. It's going to be much less the things that you have to record, but you still have to record them. So to recap this one, you confirm if you're eligible, you collect the references, you keep the records, and you store the records in your systems. Your first step is confirm your role. Make sure that you fall under this exact definition because you don't want to find yourself right that you're not part of it. To ask yourself, am I the one that creates the materials myself, or am I buying from someone that is the farmer themselves? And then, am I in a low or standard? Everybody that is inside the EU will be low, of course. But then you also now need to confirm your size because, of course, you need to be small micro. But also, if you're a large or medium, you can still be part of this group if you can prove that you have like just a small EUDR section that falls into these categories. After you have confirmed that you are indeed inside this category, then you have to just submit this one-time declaration once it's going to be ready. That's it. You don't have to do anything else with traces or anything else with EUDR for that matter, apart from the next step, which is keep the traceability records. If you have especially more than one plot of land, it's important that you know everything, which is part of business as usual. It's nothing more than what you do already. And at the end, you have again to record this unique identifier number that you're going to get in your internal systems and pass it on.
So there's a couple of things on the procedural side. So the Commission might resist part of the simplification package, such as excluding downstream operators or having a delay. And also another question is how fast the regulation will be published in the official journal. So that's kind of an official formal step that will usually take. So if once it's published in the official journal, that means that it will be official law. But usually it happens on the 20th day of being published in the official journal. Don't ask me why. But now they've also asked for that to be fast-tracked so that after the 3rd day of publication in the official journal, it becomes law. Then on the technical side, there's still the question of clarification on the requirements of the DDS for operators. So for example, whether annual estimates are optional or mandatory, the precise legal wording for downstream operators and trader responsibilities, there's still some unclarity there. And what counts as a major change for updating SME simplified declarations. So SMEs now have simplified declarations. They only have to send kind of a one-time declaration under certain conditions. And only if there's a major change, their responsibility there changes, which is something that hasn't been defined. That kind of that part major change is that, you know, when they change their business models, that when they change their name or their headquarters, that's still something to be sorted out.